Every season should be better than the last.
It's time for some more Overwatch League.
Fasten your seatbelt.
You guys excited?
This is where it gets out of control. Welcome to the Overwatch League. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, on this fine Sunday morning. We are live here in the Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles for some Overwatch, Hex. For some Overwatch.
Last day of the week. Hopefully we'll get some answers to some questions that we have about these teams, as a lot of teams really close in the standings.
Absolutely. Playoffs are in the running right now. Stage playoffs and the big picture playoffs at the end of the season, of course. But let's go ahead and take a look at the standings. Stage 1 standings. And I don't think it comes as a shock to anybody to see that the XL are still sitting pretty at the top.
No, not at all. The top is the top, but it's really interesting when you get down to all these teams with 2 wins and 2 losses. A big log jam at 2-2, 2-3. So every one of these matches is going to matter so much going into the stage playoffs. And you see at 11 and 12 right there, the teams we're going to be looking at today, Boston and Toronto.
Yeah, kicking the day off, exactly. Coming up next for Boston, you can see the remainder of their matches in Stage 1. Defiant, tied situation, and so important this match. Very evenly matched teams, and they're still both in the running for the playoffs here.
It's evenly matched because you look at they have common opponents. They both beat the Outlaws. They both lost to the NYXL, so not a whole lot of information to go off because you expect both these teams to, sorry to say it, beat the Outlaws, but then also lose to the NYXL. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup to see where these teams are, and a win here puts you at 3-2 in pretty good position to make the stage playoffs.
Exactly right. So everything on the line here, but that's what these guys are used to. They were born ready for this moment to play on the stage. And we're going to welcome our first team to the stage. It's the Boston Uprising.
A model franchise when it comes to scouting, to finding players in the rough, to picking up guys that really no one had heard of before. They go all across the planet, representing a lot of different regions. This is a team that you just can't argue with the success that they've had. They come out with these rosters, and you're like, who's this guy? Who's that guy? They don't care. They just win.
They have a system. They have a system, and you got to give it credit where credit is due. The coaching staff, the management staff, they really have a game plan. They shocked us all in the season of 2018 last year when they came out of nowhere and just really, took it to their opponents, did a fantastic job, had an excellent performance all season long. And then here, same thing. They hit the ground running, Hex.
3 new players on the starting 6 from last year is going to be Color Hex, Fusions, and Blase. A couple of them, as I mentioned, were scouted from their World Cup performance, and they just keep going. But the guys I like are the old standbys. Note, Kelix and Aim God. The support line's been good, and Note is an absolute assassin on Diva.
He's so sick. Definitely keep an eye on him. Crazy performances, but of course, it's not just one team on the stage. We have to have another. It's going to be the Toronto Defiant. And there we have it, making their way out into the auditorium. Toronto Defiant, another team that is impressive right now.
And if you were a fan of Boston last year, you're going to be familiar with some of these faces. Neko is a former Boston Uprising support. He is on this squad. They've got a nice mix of Overwatch League veterans from last year, finding a new home on Toronto. And this has been an interesting team to watch. They've got a lot of good players, but sometimes the synergy has not quite been up to snuff.
That's going to be the thing that Neko is going to be looking to exploit. One point that we need to bring up is the fact that he is playing against his old team. Was on the Boston last year, and now he's going up against them toe-to-toe. I mean, he's definitely going to have a bone to pick with them, Hex.
You don't even have to really look that deep into it. I asked these guys at our meetings before the season started, because they've got Envy and you've got Neko. I'm like, what do you think when you face your former teams? Like, we have to win.
Yeah.
We must win. So they're not even trying to hide it. Like, it's not just another game. This is a revenge game. It's your former franchise. You want to show them that you made a mistake. Let me walk away.
Exactly right. So let's see if it goes to their heads. We have seen that backfire on players, where we know that's what's going on, and they do not manage to perform at the level that we're used to because it does affect gameplay. But Neko, he's a veteran now. He's been here for quite a while on the main stage, and so he's getting to continue to show us what he's capable of here today. Boston Uprising, I mean, all of these guys are monsters. Still mid of the pack in terms of the standings, but they have had some of the most elite, in terms of teams that they've had to go up against.
Well, the two losses that Boston has are to NYXL, so we always kind of, they're the best team.
NYXL.
They look decent against them, and then they lost to Shanghai, a very last-second roster change where Fusions wasn't allowed to play, and so they had to scramble and get a different main tank in, so I think we don't really know if Boston's good or bad yet.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be looking for here today. We're going to be kicking off with the map set on Busan, presented by Toyota. It will be Control first. Think King of the Hill. Think the first team to pick up 2 points on this map will win.
Yeah, take the area, control it, you get the percentage all the way up to 100%. We do that in best out of 3 in 3 different stages on a single map, representing the lovely Busan. And this has been one of my favorite maps because I like chaos, I like style points, and a lot of teams have run very interesting compositions on this map.
You've embraced life, Hex. Chaos reigns, the root of it all. But we're going to be getting into the action now. Boston Uprising versus the Toronto Defiant. Both teams on the offense, and both teams out the gate charging. It's exactly what we want to see. And Hex. No, they're messing with us. There's no way. Do we actually get to see the old veteran?
Well, I think we're going to see something like that. We've got a couple of players out there scouting for Toronto to see exactly what the other team wants to run. And it's actually Boston that makes changes off of a tank-heavy composition, going to more damage-based, and now changes all across the board. No fights yet. The point's unlocked, and the teams haven't even seen each other.
They're just feeling each other out right now. Exactly. Okay, what is it that they've got in store for us here? Because there is that moment where you're not quite sure. You guys can see the heroes that they're picking at the top of the screen. The players, they have to see them in person. They have to figure it out. So they take the time to try and set themselves up to win this first fight. And it's so important to get first control. You want to hit the ground running, but Defiants are the ones to pick it up, and they are currently going toe-to-toe with the Boston Uprising.
In this composition, the Zaryas are so important. That's what you're seeing on your screen now. Zarya getting high energy up. The number below the crosshair correlates to how much damage she is able to do as a hero. Still back and forth on the point. Toronto likes to run the Moira hero, which a lot of teams don't because they believe they can maybe get the ultimate charge up in that first fight. Not quite the case there, as Boston will take first control on Busan.
Nego is so close as well, dying at 92%, and he's not even going to stick with it. We've seen this in the past as well. You go for that one play with the Moira. If it works, fantastic, fabulous. If it doesn't, you just change back to the Zenyatta. You get that Discord Orb in play. When you get that Discord Orb, it's a debuff. It's something that you put on your opponent, and it makes him take 30% more damage. It's a big difference. And so that's going to be his main role here, trying to facilitate his team to set up these kills. Ivy looking for the grab. Ult online. Rally is used, and there it is. He sees the opening, grabs them all, gets them into this. We do still have Helix doing a good job of hanging out on the edges, and he will delay with the sound barrier to keep his team up.
AimGod used Transcendence to keep his team alive, and now he's going to try to buff it back up by picking up a couple of kills. The problem with having a Moira early on means that you're not going to have your own Transcendence up because you just switched to Zenyatta. So now Boston Uprising should pretty much have a one fight if they use the Graviton Surge against Toronto Defiant.
Yeah, there's it's a lot on Envy to try and get it in position to block it. You know, that's the real game. Keep an eye on that big mech, you know, that's kind of flying all over the place. Has the ability to delete abilities, basically. Catch them out of the air and just delete them from existence. And so that's why you see a lot of dancing here from Zarya. She's trying to find that opening, and she sees it immediately, hides it behind the wall, grabs the Defiant as they make their way onto the point, and there will be a self-destruct kill coming in on Roki, but we lose Note. He's not able to get into a fresh mech.
Well, Roki gave up his life, but he was able to use his ultimate early to keep them alive during that combination. And now they've got Neko use his Transcendence too. They're picking up the kills that they need. A few more and they should be able to secure the point back, and that will be what happens. About 30% for Toronto Defiant on the point, but now Boston sitting at 84% is probably only one definitive fight away from taking the first stage on Busan.
Yeah, they're about to have both of their support ultimates coming up. Rally, though, could be used to just initiate in here. You know, get everybody all big and beefy with the armor. And yep, sure enough, no time wasted. Blase just going to start using that ultimate, rally his team into the fight. Defiant, however, giving ground, not willing to fully commit. Nice delay on a rally of their own as well. Blase not quite going to be able to capitalize on the kill, but the self-destruct chucked out in the open, and we're going to see he finds one kill on Fusions. And the Defiants, they will hold for now.
This is a good sign if you're a Toronto Defiant fan. Their combinations are coming to fruition. The biggest combination in the game right now when you have these 3 tank, 3 support compositions is using the Graviton and then the self-destruct. Because it does burst damage rather than just damage over time, it's a very good way to eliminate high health heroes.
Nice positioning there from the Defiants as well. Wanting to take the fight early. If Boston were going to go through the high ground again, Wanted to be there to meet them. Instead, Boston going to go ahead and set up shop here. Backs to the Fisher. They cannot fall. They got nowhere to go. They have to go forward, and we see that Fusion's leading the way with the hammer. Trance going to be used already here by Nako. A delay on it from AimGod as well. They find the kill on Color Hex. This is huge. Defiant setting themselves up to win this first point.
Trance was forced, and if they had Graviton, they win this fight, but they're able to pick Color Hex before he's able to get that ability off, and now Boston on the back foot. It's just cleanup time for Toronto Defiant. They're going to try to get this D.Va out of it, but it seems like all over but the Cryon.
Yeah, this is done. Notes is the last one to fall. The rest of his team aren't going to make it back in time, and it will be the first point going the way of the Toronto Defiant. He's looking very clean and coordinated right now, Hex, in terms of you may have those jitters, you know, first round, first map, you know, getting in, not quite sure how it's going to go. But right now, the Defiants, you know, they're sticking to their game plan, and it's worked perfectly.
We mentioned this composition, so important for your Zarya player to be your standout player, and right now, the Toronto Defiant Zarya, Ivy having a great game as opposed to Color Hex. Ivy's got 61% average energy, Color Hex 44, and those numbers don't seem that different, but in practical use, they are very different.
Well, you can see it in just in terms of the damage dealt. You know, if you're keeping 61% energy, you're just getting that more. You're getting more damage. He's got 6,700 damage dealt. Color Hex on the other side, 3,500. That's a big difference.
And it was that late death for Color Hex that probably cost him that stage. He had Graviton ready, they just got Transcend baited out, and unable to stay alive and loft it in there. We'll see if they can rebound here on our second stage.
So this one, fighting around the middle this time, different setting. New point. And let's see now, Defiant. Now this is a bit of the standoff. Neither team wants to make the mistake first. That will cost them an early kill. But the Uprising so far doing a good job of forcing the Defiant to give ground. Defiant need to be careful about splitting up too much. Do not want to get cut off from the group. You want to stick together as 6 and work together with your abilities.
The early poke fight is so important for Zarya to try to get energy up. You see right there, taking damage on barriers, both personal barrier and allied barrier, and a big spike in energy for Ivy is now going to be doing a lot of damage.
There it is, contributes. Blase goes down and Fusions to follow. This is going to be a one fight for the Defiant. There isn't a whole lot they can do. Color Hex trying to stay alive, and they will not let him. Excellent work with that hunt.
It's so important to chase down Zaryas and not let them live through to the next fight and stay alive, because once you kill a Zarya, the energy we talked about being so important resets back to 0. Then you have to use your allied bubbles, as we call them, to get the damage done, to get the energy back up, and it's simply less resources you have going into the next fight.
Just they don't have to worry about Color quite as much, at least until later into the fight. So Color right now feeling the pressure. Not found a final blow yet. That will make a difference, but it's going to be Fusions leading the way. Fantastic shatter straight into the mix, but we have the Trance. Excellent positioning there from Nako, avoids the ultimate, and so he can keep his team alive. Rally used as well, but it's going to be the grab coming in here from Ivy, and can the Defiant do it? Yes! The shatter combo into the self-destruct. Sick work. It's all coming together so beautifully here.
A lot of resources committed, but it wins you the fight guaranteed. You shatter there so that it knocks down the opposing Reinhardt shield, which is one of the only defenses against the giant self-destruct bomb. So they committed everything, but it's worth it when you win those fights. The flip side is if you commit everything and lose those fights, you put yourself in a terrible position. Boston Uprising now has a combination play of their own. Color Hex is nearing Graviton Surge, Note is nearing self-destruct.
That is the wombo combo that we're so used to seeing now in the current strategy, the current set of plays from these teams and these heroes. Color Hex, you see it? Grav comes online now. So he's going to be looking for the opening. He needs to be aware of the positioning of Envy. Does not want to risk getting this ultimate eaten. He saw D-Matrix get used there, and yep, there it is. Plops it down, needs to get the follow-up. Sound barrier goes up, and there is the charge. Fusions. He didn't have a shatter, but he could still go ahead and take Yakpong for a ride.
Hey, the plus side is Fusions will have a shatter for the next fight. Boston will wrestle over first control. Toronto Defiant will sit happily on 85%. Now you're in a situation where Toronto really only needs to win one more fight. So do you just wait for your ultimates and your combinations to be up? Ivy's nearing Graviton Surge, but the rest of the parts of that puzzle are still a little bit ways away, as Envy sitting only at 43. They have time to give up here.
It's going to be that decision-making that comes through, because if they take the time to farm their ults, that means that Boston are getting time to get theirs online as well. Rallies are going to go through. Shatter gets blocked by Yakpong, had the shield up, and the Trance is through as well. Color Hex, yet again, the first to get picked. That's not going to help things here for the Boston Uprising. Solo grab, he doesn't care. Blase is out of it. AimGod having to back off, not able to keep his teammates alive. And just like that, the Defiant take control of the point.
Boston's in trouble. Lucio's trying to get out with his Zen. He's their best chance of being able to get back to the point and contest it at 85%. And just a great reactionary play from Toronto. I don't think they were going into it expecting to use ults, but when they got pushed on and the ultimates were used to no effect for Boston, they decided, well, this is a great window. It's our time. They used them and it worked.
Get in this fight. Now, exactly, Boston have got no room for error. We're into overtime. If they get off the point, this is done. They have to keep him alive, but Fusions overwhelms. Too many angles to worry about. That shield only faces one way, and this is it. Uprising getting wiped off the face of the planet. It will be the Defiant to pick up the first map in this best of 5 series.
The tanks for the Boston Uprising getting isolated and then punished for it. A pretty dominant first map for Toronto.
Highly one-sided. Defiant really showing that they're here to play today. Hex, they're here to win. They get that W. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will see how it all plays out on the second map.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
So hit scan damage, very simply, just means damage that has no travel time in the world of the game.
Hit scan, like McCree, you just shoot wherever your crosshair is. As soon as you click left click, it'll hit them.
Conversely, a projectile is something that you actually throw out into the world of the game, and only if it collides with an enemy over time will it actually deal damage. So some of the classic hit scan heroes in Overwatch would be McCree, Widowmaker, but many heroes blend that definition. And the characters that are all projectile would be characters like Genji, like Pharah. All of their weapons have travel time, which is really the key element of a projectile.
There you have it, explaining some of the mechanics of the game here. So, hit scan, projectile. Zarya, for example. There you go. That's a marriage between the two. She has the beam, hit scan. Then she has the projectile, the grenades that she throws out.
Right.
Those would count as projectiles.
D.Va's the same. Yeah. Primary fire, hit scan,
Micro missiles.
micro missiles, projectiles.
You can just do this all day, Hex.
Yeah.
Let's go down the list.
Let us not. Let's talk about the important things that matter. I think the Short4 and Jake did a great job of explaining it for us. Anyway, Toronto looks really, really strong. That was pretty one-sided on Busan, aside from early on the confusing dance of switching heroes on mecha base, but Toronto pulled it off. And Toronto looks a little crisper. I mean, we cast them earlier this week, and they were missing combinations. They were using ults maybe not in the best manner, but today they're hitting combinations, and Ivy's been a standout. If you're going to run 3 tanks, 3 supports, your Zarya's got to be the best player in your squad.
Hands down, exactly. That's where the big source of your damage is coming from. As we saw from Ivy, he just completely outstripped, the opposition in Color Hex. Color Hex, just a bit of an off game, perhaps off map. We've seen it before. You can shake it off. You get into the second map now. You've had time to kind of get focused up again. So we'll see what he's capable of here on Hollywood.
As one of the new players of this roster, maybe some nerves getting to him. It's also not his main hero that he's always played, so just get used to it. He hasn't played all the matches for Boston, and he's new to the Overwatch League in our 2019 season. So, defensively, no surprise here, going to run 3 tanks and 3 supports. That's where you hear 3-3 or triple-triple often referring to. Offense looks the same as well.
Exactly right. The big beef. The big beef. It's going to stick. It's going to stick. So,
stop trying to make it happen.
It's going to happen. We have Defiant on the defense as the home team. Away team Boston Uprising moving forward, taking quite a bit of damage, trying to make it their way through that choke point. And it's such a fitting start, Hex. Such a fitting start. Who gets the first 2 kills to kick things off?
It's just Ivy again, and he's already working his way up a decent amount of energy for how quickly that fight went, and that is a full-on deletion of the enemy team. A late kill onto the opposing Zenyatta is very nice, means he's going to have to wait for respawns. And then the next attack is going to have to wait for him to get back.
Yeah, he's a slow floating android as well. Eventually, yep, nope, gonna get speed boosted back by the Lucio taxi service. And now let's get into it. Already kind of dancing on the edges here. They're looking like they want to try perhaps change. No, it doesn't look like it.
You want to take this high ground away. You can't just play on the point beneath the enemy team, otherwise you're going to be in big trouble. So you force all the way around because you can touch the point from that angle, but now they're just trying to find the correct rotation, trying to duke Toronto in a bad position. It worked.
Yeah, it worked. They go for the juke, catches Toronto out of position now. Toronto already given up that high ground, although Ivy is still hanging out up there. Note, however, going to catch Roki out of position, and that's going to be a big opening kill. 2 of them, in fact. We touched on this guy at the beginning of this match going into it, that he is an assassin, and sure enough, 2 kills when his team needed him most.
Note has done it all throughout the season of seeing that very brief window where a support is not exactly where they should be, and he has punished it constantly. It has been so impressive. He did it against Seoul, he did it against Houston.
Yeah, Rockus is still having nightmares.
He does it constantly to these teams. He's just such a quick decision-making diva. It's very impressive. It's been so consistent for them.
He had it there, the example, the mobility that he has allows him to pounce. When he sees the opening, he can get onto that high ground, he can just jet straight at you in that match.
Pounce at him, you burst damage with your micro missiles as well, so those supports with very low HP pools pretty much just melts to a diva jumping on them.
He's just, I was wondering if he's going to go for the Hail Mary, but that would have been too sick. Instead, it's just going to be straight down, right over the top. Can they get the shatter? And it is going to happen. 2 kills for Boston. You saw it clean as you please. Grab goes in, self-destruct over the top, and then you get that Rhine shield out of the way. A couple of big kills there for Boston, and they're going to make some serious progress here.
Not even a shatter needed there. He's just able to charge the Rhine out of the way, so that's one piece of the combo there. Just picture perfect. That's exactly how you draw it up. That's why you save self-destruct for Graviton, and then you just got to find some way to displace the Rhine arrow, whether it be a charge, a hammer swing, or often a Lucio displacement.
I approve of those self-destructs. Now it's going to be the second fight. Defiant really trying to take it early, and there's the grab going through. Hidden, not going to get deleted. Self-destruct over the top, and once again, 2 kills. This time for the Defiant, each one using the combo to perfection, and both Rhines still holding on to their shatters.
That second burst, same as the first right there, as Toronto shows you how it's done as well. Back and forth between these 2 teams. They don't necessarily want to kill D.Va in pilot form right away. Call it a stagger when you can wait as long as possible to kill an opposing member of the team. That way, it takes them longer to regroup and longer to get back into it. And pilot D.Va, when she's demeched, usually the victim of those horrendous staggers.
just trying to keep an eye here. Yakpung is on that high ground. Does he just come tumbling out of the sky? I mean, he has been spotted, obviously. It's not going to go perfectly for him. And instead, he's going to set up point onto Shop. Okay, set up Shop on the point, rather. And there it is, the opening kill. Really just spread out, both of the teams kind of trying to find an opening. This time, it didn't really work out for Boston. Defiant pressing forward, exactly, trying to find a straggler, but not quite there.
And you got to think that Nico's smiling after that one. Aim God is essentially the man who took over his job on the Boston Uprising. Nico now finds a new home in the Toronto Defiant, and he takes down his opposing number, wins the fight without having to use any abilities, because it's just very difficult to fight down in these compositions.
So once again, Boston going for a different angle here to get onto the payload. The payload, if you notice, if Boston aren't on that payload, it will start backing up, so they lose ground. So we're back in front of the saloon now. They need to start trying to win these fights here, Boston, because they're running out of time. 1:40 on the clock here for Boston to push this payload to the second point.
Yeah, they've kind of switched spots, offense and defense here, but early Transcendence comes up from Aim God, just trying to keep everybody alive. Battling Transcendence as a grab comes out. Where's the follow-up? There it is.
There it is. It's Yakpung getting taken for a ride there by Fusions. However, can they win out on this fight? Shatter gets thrown in, clips 2, and Stellar not going to be able to stay alive. The cleanup is big here for the Boston Uprising, and they are going to find 4.
Yeah, they're going to get a little bit of progress here. I do believe that Toronto should be able to come out and fight this one, and they didn't use everything here. They used a couple support ultimates, but they still have Rally, and Rally will give them a little boost. They can fight without Envy, because Envy should be able to get back in here, but shattered and deleted immediately as Yakpung. Now Roki pays the price of his life as well, and now they did use Rally, so perhaps misguided. What are they doing listening to me, contesting? I've never been right, not once in my life.
I gotta give that to Blase, I think, just because he gets the instant stun as Yakpung gets out through the door. Yakpung, he's probably thinking, oh, I can be safe behind the shield, and that'll buy time for my guys to come in behind him. Nope, he gets cut off immediately. So quick reactions there. Fusion spotting it out, probably calling in the rotation for his team. And so now, well, yep, the Defiant. They have to wait for Yakpung to come back into it. Sure enough, they will. And now it's just going to be this standoff. Kellex on high, skating on the walls. He doesn't care about leaving marks.
He's grabbed in, self-destruct is there as the shield down. It gets knocked out of the way. Envy's able to pick up Color Hex in this engagement. Still even up on the point. Next kill's gonna be a world of difference.
Color Hex is having some trouble right now. It feels like that bubble, he missed the timing by a split second, did it just a little bit too early and it wore off. Probably would have survived otherwise. Instead, it's going to be 2 kills, make that 3. Ivy kills himself somehow. And Boston Uprising now making progress towards the home stretch. Here it is, the final alley. That's the 3rd point there.
The Zarya projectile will do self-damage. A lot of players will use it to actually enhance their jumps and get to places on the map where they're not supposed to be able to get, but sometimes you're a little too close firing that in and you end up taking yourself out of the equation.
Let's see, now they're going to have to set up the defense here, Defiant. As soon as it gets into the VIP spot, that is it. This first half of the map will be over. Color Hex going for the grab. Solo, he doesn't care. Can he find any of the high-value targets, though? Yakpung still going to go boom. And this is going to be Boston Uprising nearly getting it there. Last second contest by Roki, and now we have the trans getting thrown in as well by Nico. Trying to keep the team up, trying to stagger things out. It's much better here for the Defiant.
Gotta get these
to
kills.
get the kills, and they are just barely going to keep the contest going. This is unreal every single time. Boston so close to getting it done, but they aren't able to withstand.
They will clean it up. The music you hear means that we are getting towards the end of the timer on the map. Below 20 seconds now. It's going to be difficult for Boston to get in a position to fight properly here. Yakpung could also shatter them if they try to just speed in.
Oh, that was crazy. Every single time I thought it was about to finish with 3, and then somehow the Defiant keep contesting. Now they're going to get boosted, they're going to get rallied into this, and they have to touch the point, Boston. Somehow, no, yes, going to get in there, but he's so dangerously overexposed. He's going to get debacked immediately. Valuable asset already out of the fight here for the Boston Uprising. Sound barrier used as well, and it's definitely looking like Defiant now just have to keep their cool. They have all of the advantages going into this fight, and now they get to pick them off one after another. Boston Uprising will not succeed in picking up 3 points here on Hollywood.
They're going to clean it up. Toronto with a nice combination in the penultimate fight to be able to put themselves in good position here.
Solid work, despite the fact, I mean, really solid defense on the second point. I think that makes the difference, all the difference for the Defiant, seeing as how they were, you know, they didn't really hold on to the first one that long. They gave it up a bit quick, so they knew they were behind.
Or those things ends up adding up, though. If you can win one fight on first point, then it's less time on the clock. If you win a couple fights on second, less time on the clock. So you have to look at the map as a whole rather than just having to win every fight. Able to bleed out a lot of clock, which means that Boston did not get as many chances as they wanted to, pushing it all the way to completion. And now the win condition for Toronto is rather simple. Push the payload all the way to the end of the map.
There you go. All 3 points, or nearly. That's what they're looking for here, and we're about to get into the action. Countdown's about to finish up. Taking a quick glance here to see how this rivalry is developing between Color Hex and Ivy's still coming out on top in terms of performance on that Zarya. So he's looking solid. He's really got that level going. Ivy really setting himself up to be a standout player here for his team.
Yeah, in this meta, you have to have a good Zarya. You look at the best teams, the teams at the very top, they have a very strong front line, tank line anyway.
Guys, be sure to stay tuned. We have 4 matches of Overwatch coming up today. This is the first one. Next one up is going to be Spark versus the LA Gladiators. You can watch them here as well. So be sure, stay tuned. Loads of matches, loads of games coming at you today. It's a beautiful Sunday.
So beautiful in the Hollywood, in the map, and the Hollywood outside. The Blase is dancing. A little bit of shuffle from the Brigida.
From Blase. That would be the shuffle. You know, he doesn't want to put any more in. You know, for a guy named Blase, you know, he's not going to put more energy into a shuffle than is absolutely necessary. You know, like that's the extent of dancing that he's willing to do.
Yeah, just a little bit of top rock, a little bit of shuffle. I get it.
The quick wrap coming in here from Defiant. And they are going to stick, not going to go for the juke. Boston will rotate down to the point, however, to meet them. Color Hex trying to take advantage of that high ground.
You want to take at least one of the high grounds, and then where the offense approaches really dictates which high ground you're going to have access to as the defense. Still poking away both teams. No one even getting low right now. Neko gets a little bit low, but no one out of position, and now Toronto has taken over one of the high grounds.
Yes, they have. And that was Ivy also putting pressure, not allowing Color Hex to get comfortable up there on the balcony. This is all going to fall apart here for Boston. They aren't even going to win the first fight. This is going to be Defiant picking up the first point in record time.
They did a good job of the poke war and just kind of biding their time and patient. Envy then takes the initial high ground, which is on the right, top right side of your screen right now, able to rain down a ton of damage without ever being bothered. They're able to isolate Color Hex, take him out of the fight. And I mean, just to put a punctuation on this, Ivy already has Graviton Surge ready.
Yeah, Ivy already has Grav, and he was the one I was really keeping an eye on here in that fight, just doing a great job of hiding himself, making himself a difficult target, and then exactly spotting out Color Hex, right, can't let him get comfortable. I got beat with him. And now it's going to be the Grav, potentially here from Ivy. Rallies thrown in on both sides, so he's looking to just buy a little bit of time here. Losing Yakpung pretty much ends this fight for Defiant, so you're not really going to see any more ults get thrown in.
You see how highly Ivy values his energy charge on Zarya. He's like, I'm at 100, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
You guys lost one. I need to be in there at the next fight with all the damage in the world. So a quick retreat there. Color Hex now has his own Graviton. Rallies used on both sides of the last fight. Also a Shatter came down from Fusion, didn't catch much. So a small advantage in the ultimate economy for the Toronto Defiant.
Exactly right. There you go, trying to get the volleys going in. He's got to be John Allen spot, exactly. You can see he's kind of hiding behind these angles because he does not want to get caught out by any stuns, anything that would stop him from using the trance, or well, turns out he doesn't need to worry about it. Will get the trance in there to keep his team up, but they just get obliterated. Boston Uprising, not a chance.
Envy, an Overwatch League veteran, spent some time last year on the LA Valiant, finds himself a new home, is making a new name for himself. The combination play for the Toronto Defiant has been absolutely stellar today. Get that? Stellar?
Hey.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'll show myself.
Be proud. Be proud of the puns. As far as the Defiant are concerned, though, they're also proud of Stellar and his performance so far. He's looking great. But now it's on Boston Uprising to rally here. They need to figure it out. They are at risk of getting split up. It will be the self-destruct just thrown in here to initiate on the fight. Nothing for it. No, unfortunately for him, not going to get any value, really.
It's not a terrible play because Color Hex was still very far away from his Graviton. They weren't going to be able to get that combination anytime soon. Fusions goes very low, but swings back, takes out Yakpung. Very difficult to fight without your main tank. And I get this composition overall, you hear us say it's very difficult to fight with this, with that. because it is so dependent on the synergies of each hero working with each other that when you lose anybody and the compositions that are going to be very tanky, very upfront, going 5v6 just almost never works.
These are very damage-light compositions as well. It's good of you to point that out. This is why we focus a lot on Color Hex and on Ivy. If Azaria goes down first, statistically, you're not winning that fight. Or the odds of you winning it go way down. Because not only do you lose the bubbles, you lose the damage, the ability to just shut people down. So, Defiant now, there it is, rallies into the fight on both sides. Color Hex looking for the point-blank grab, perhaps. Could find the opening here. He's just doing as much damage as possible. And yep, decides to hide it behind the hay bales. They're going to get pulled in. No follow-up, however, and no kills. Instead, it's going to be Ivy straight through. Let's see, can they do it again? Self-destruct over the top. Shield is down, and Fusions is going to go boom. Tank is out of the fight now for the Boston Uprising. They have to give ground.
It's simply just better execution of their ultimates right there.
Oh, yeah! Mako dropping the Boston logo. Let's go. He knows it. He's fired up.
I love it. It's just better execution, and it's because Note threw in that self-destruct early, then Color Hex feels like, well, we're not going to have self-destruct for this next fight. I see a good opportunity for a grab. He uses it there, but now Boston trying to come back in. Self-destruct is up in the air.
And doesn't catch anybody, so Ivy is instead going to find Aim God. Trance is getting used on both sides by the looks of it, or it's the rally rather for Blase, but this is not going to bear out here for Boston. They are getting cut off from each other and picked off one after another.
They're letting Boston throw a lot of resources into Yakum. He's kind of been sacrificially put out there a couple times, but Neko gets in there and saves him after the shatter. Toronto Defiant rolling through this one.
Oh, they're looking so good, Hex, and they've got plenty of time here. 2.5 minutes, and with a few tools to use, because once again, they have that combo online. Ivy, so good at getting grab up.
Neko and Aim God are kind of toe-to-toe when it comes to getting transcendences up and able to use. However, Neko doing 1,000 more damage per 10 minutes, doing almost 2,500 more transcendence healing. Overall, is just a bigger benefit to his team right now.
Yeah, he's getting the value, and Ivy is still well in the lead in terms of damage dealt. Once again, grabs are thrown in though. They're dropping low. Blase not going to be able to hang in here. We will find 2 kills, however, for the Fusion. So they're trying to keep it even, but then Note has to go and die, and that's not going to help things. Kelix, last one here to contest. He dies quick. Wants to respawn with the rest of his team. And so Defiant now, they're going to be on the home stretch. Straight line. 40 meters away. And
yet again, you see just how far apart the big combination ultimates are for the Boston Uprising. Note will get self-destruct in this next fight, very likely at 83%. Color Hex, no way is he getting grabbed in this next fight unless it goes on very long.
Yeah, exactly, they're not coordinating well together, and that is definitely telling. Defiant with 1.5 minutes on the clock. Ivy dropping dangerously low. Stellar in line of sight to keep him up though, and we will have the rally here to lead the way. Looking for the stun, not gonna find it to kick things off, and Aim God with the trance. Just throws it out there. Now in Ivy, if he gets that grab up, and he can certainly do it in time here for this final fight, there is not going to be a whole lot of mitigation here on Boston's side. They need to count on Kelix getting Sound Barrier up. Self-destruct thrown in again. Fusions with the counter shatter, looking for it, trying to find the follow-up, but he's not going to do it in time. Broken with the Sound Barrier, now comes the grab. Could get the follow-up, but they aren't going to quite manage it. Instead, it's Kelix. Well, we're trading Lucio's at this point.
And the grab went in, and Envy was only 5% away from getting self-destruct, but the support ultimate used from Toronto Defiant has been so good. Every time they're in trouble, they have support ultimates up and ready to go. Neko takes down Aim God from inside the grab, and this one looks like it's going the way of Toronto. A 20-player kill streak from Neko.
This is bonkers. Neko's just all out playing out of his mind right now. Fusions has to go to the Hammond just to try and buy a little bit more time here. And Aim God forced to use the trance because he's invulnerable, but there's nobody there to contest. Even with the trance, he backs off. Not gonna stay, not gonna survive. And the Defiant are in the lead 2-0 in this best of 5. They're 1 map away, Hex.
It looks good for them. Neko's got to be smiling on the inside, a former Boston Uprising player.
Oh, I'm so happy we caught that moment with the logo, too. You know, just throwing a little bit of shade, throwing a little bit of shade. We're going to take a break, and we'll hear what the halftime team have to say after that.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.
Toronto's looking ready for that stage 1 playoff push. They're taking care of business so far, up 2-0 over the Uprising at the break. Welcome to the halftime show, everybody. Malik here with Zoe and Bren. Guys, as a person who's been embracing the Zarya gameplay here in the Overwatch League during this meta, I got to say this matchup between Color Hex and Ivy has been pretty amazing. Ivy is straight up putting Color Hex in IVs right now so far.
Yeah. Absolutely unreal player across the board. I mean, this guy was putting up some ridiculous numbers, and we've pretty much built an entire package now for map number 1, and essentially just looking at Ivy versus Color Hex, and the difference is astronomical between them. Color Hex, he was dying first in a lot of these engagements on map 1. Ivy was absolutely demolishing him, putting out crazy damage. This is one of the players that we highlighted, you know, before the league began, and he was picked up by Toronto. A little bit underrated, was flying under the radar of a lot of people, but now we now see the reason why Toronto have picked this guy up. He is phenomenal on this role.
And he's exactly the one who had to step it up. Yakpong also really shown throughout the first and the second map. And if we're looking at those stats,
my goodness.
like this is almost painful to talk about.
It's absurd, isn't it?
Look at the high energy kills alone. 30 to 9.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to the average time to ult though as well. A minute difference between this means
That's
that
huge.
Toronto can take essentially twice as many team fights with a Graviton Surge that they're going to be winning. And that is ridiculous.
It's hard to get a high number there if you have 7 deaths to your name versus 2 deaths.
It's pretty difficult.
Maybe they underestimated Ivy going into this match because it's not even close, man. Color X is getting straight bodied by them. But something else I wanna point out is the play of Neko. It's kind of awesome because Neko used to be a Boston Uprising player.
Yep.
What is it about the Uprising going up against their former players, man? They just don't fare well against them.
Motivation, I don't know.
Right.
So, some real motivation to frag out. That's exactly what we saw from Neko. And I tell you what, Neko had Aim God's number. We had our researcher Matt looking it up, and it turns out that he actually killed Aim God 4 times, and Aim God got 0 kills on him. So there was definitely a target on the back there. Neko overall did exactly what we expected him to do. We saw Toronto Defiant playing without Neko the first 2 games, and now he's back in, and he is one of the leaders of the team. He is one of the carries.
Yeah, absolutely. This game was a little bit more competitive between Boston Uprising and Toronto, a little bit less one-sided, and I think that's because, you know, me and you, Zoe, were talking in a halftime about just before this, saying how Boston, they like to prepare. You know, they like the sort of long maps, the escort maps, the assault maps, where they can plan out their attack a little bit better compared to Control. It's a lot more chaotic.
Yeah, they don't like those brawly games. They really like to have those setups. Now, Aim God versus Neko, let's see how they compare. Final blows 14-4. That's pretty big, and Aim God was death a lot more often,
Exactly.
to say the least.
Yeah, that death statistic is the main one I think that we need to be paying attention to, because the difference of 4 to 12, it's huge. You know, it's absolutely absurd. He's going to be getting the Transcendences more often. They're going to be winning more fights as a result.
All right, so if you are the Boston Uprising, you need to pull off this reverse sweep to keep your playoffs or stage playoff hopes alive, essentially. So what do they need to do to get back into this game? What's the first thing they need to focus on?
I think in the majority of the fights throughout map 1 and 2, it was kind of positional errors which actually cost a Boston Uprising. I do think that their ult combinations are really good, and their timing usually is very good. It was really just the positional errors. I swear I speak the English language pretty okay. It was that which really cost them, those little pickups which Defiant got.
No, I couldn't agree more. I do also think that Boston have been steadily improving as this series goes on. I think they're just kind of ramping up, warming up a little bit. Toronto have definitely done their research and are looking way better than before, but I'm expecting Boston to now come out with even better performances in the second half. So I'm actually going to be sticking with my prediction of Boston for this one.
Same.
All right, well, the Toronto Defiant are up 2-0. It's been a competitive match, but can Boston get back into the game? We're going to find out right after the break.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
Welcome back from the break, ladies and gentlemen. The Toronto Defiant are currently in the lead, 2-0 over the Boston Uprising. Best of 5. We're looking for the first team to get the 3-map wins here.
We are going to Temple of Anubis next, which Boston has been very strong on. They've got some really interesting strategies, so we'll see if those come to bear, and we'll mention them as they do. But so far, it's been all Toronto. Like, it's 2-0, obviously, but it hasn't really even been that close. Boston needs to take a breath and reset, because I think what happened on Hollywood was they would use one ultimate, and then one part of the combo piece, and then they had the other one up when the other one was at, like,
exactly.
Sometimes you just have to accept, let's lose a fight, let's get our system back on track. We talk about this as a system and methodical team. It was anything but on Hollywood.
It's tough when we talk about these assassins like Note, who's in there, but it's like individual plays will only take you so far. You need to get those team pieces working together, all of the elements. And right now, it's the Defiant who are doing a better job of that. Now we're going to go into Assault. We're going to go into 2 control points. One team on the offense, one team on the defense. Team on the offense is trying to pick up 2 points.
Yep, that's a very great definition of it. Temple of Anubis, of course, a beautiful map. Great artwork. And the team which did not win the previous map gets to choose if they want to attack or defend first. That's our rule set here in the Overwatch League. So Boston, of course, choosing to attack on Temple of Anubis first. They had some really interesting strats against Seoul when it came to attacking. Let's see if they try to set it up here and let Note play the assassin role again. But if I notice it, Toronto must have noticed it too.
Oh, surprise. Big mech there, just to let you know there, Kelix. Gotta be a bit careful. He's gonna be backing off with the rest of his team now, trying to ferry them through these choke points. And they will succeed in doing just that. So solid work there on the Boston side.
Yeah, Toronto decides they're not even going to try to hold that lower ledge. That's where teams have run into trouble against Note being assassinating the backline supports. So they're just going to rotate high ground. They get everybody in the position that they need to. And the person you want to watch here when you're running Winston on defense is Yakpung. See if he can get there, get all the cleave damage in that he wants. A nice big stomp does a lot of damage. And now Echo comes to life, taking down Kelix, a big kill.
Once again with the kills. And you're great, pointing out Yakpung. I mean, 2 fights, and he's already at 78%, nearly 80% on his ultimate. That's bonkers fast. But we will find 1 point of tick here for Boston Uprising.
Yep, each 33% on Assault and Control map, or on Assault maps, does stay permanently. So even though the Boston Uprising offense will be deflected for now, they only have 66% more to go before they take point A.
Exactly. A little bit of the offense there, just giving him a chance. Can't be clean like that all the time. Defiant, though, still working with the combos, and they're about to get online here. We saw them dominate so far in the first 2 maps of this series, Ivy and Envy. Both of those ults so valuable here, but they are so good at getting the combo to work together. Ooh, that's big, though, to kick things off. Nico getting shot in the face. That's not going to help things here for the defense. Defiant down a key figure. We're going to need a big play here. Ivy with the grab online.
Yeah, Boston does not have their own Graviton, which would have been a game-winning ultimate. Meanwhile, ultimates come out of both sides. Transcendence forced out for Boston.
Grab was there. It doesn't look like Envy was able to take advantage of it, though. We didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle here for Defiant, and so they are going to start breaking this defense down. Ivy trying to do the best he can to stagger things out, to slow it down, but it's not going to be good enough, and he will be relegated back to spawn. Boston Uprising now. They've picked up the first point. Point A is theirs, and now we move on to point B.
Now this is a point that we call the snowball effect. If you win that fight big, then you're going to have more ultimates and better ultimates try to win the second point. So often your first push on the second is your best one.
There's the grab, self-destruct, slightly delayed, over the top, finds Ivy. That's a big kill, but then Envy trades it right back with a kill on Note. 2 kills, however, thrown in by Fusions gives the Uprising a huge advantage. They will pick up 1 tick. They could pick up a second here as well. Rocky trying to delay, but it's not going to happen, and they could get it clean. Neko not even going to make it out around the corner. That is it. Boston Uprising, this is the performance that they were looking for.
A little bit surprising, no contest comes out late in the end. I think perhaps they were trying to regroup. They did get 1 kill, so if they can come out in full force, they'd have a great chance at defense there. Not going to happen, though, as Boston showing new signs of life.
Excellent work on their side. Boston, there we go. And the man in question, Note right there on the screen. All the kills, or at least some of them, very even in terms of kills, though.
Well, Kelix came in on that first point, got his revenge on a Neko.
That was big. That was a big one to open things up. Neko has been doing so much damage for his team. So if you remove him, you remove Ivy. We saw Ivy, not quite get in there either. So for the Defiant now, it's about taking a breath. Now they go on to offense. See Neko talking a little bit right now. Getting the team rallied up, ready to go.
A very close match in terms of deaths, but it's not necessarily how many times he died, it's where and when, if he can fight through those deaths or not. But only 6 deaths for Boston, only 7 for Toronto. Yet it looked like Boston completely dominated that.
Yeah, it did, really did. But they had a fight on their hands, Hex. Turns out that's exactly what they were looking for. They came out on top this time. And well, we're going to have a similar setup, although Boston electing to go for fusions on the Rhine immediately. They are not going to go for the Winston. So a difference in strategy here.
It's just a flesh wound.
And they will be somewhat limited in their vertical game. They won't quite be able to just get up there, challenge on those high balconies the way that Winston can when he can jump up pretty much all over this first point. So Boston, they need to be clean. They need to work together here. Defiant, it's looking like they're sticking to their guns.
Should be interesting setup. Fusions is generally more comfortable on the Reinhardt. It's where he made his name in the Overwatch World Cup. Can play other tanks, of course, but I think if you just allow him to play his comfort zone, then probably in a better position.
Exactly. Oh, not quite able to. Yakon getting cut off, out of line of sight from Ivy. He's not able to get the bubble out there. Still somehow finds like 80 energy in all that chaos. So now he gets to do some real hurt.
It's not too bad. However, the Reinhardt ultimates are very disparate right now. Only 20% about for Yakon, as Fusion's nearing 55%.
They're going for the wrap now through the low ground. Note there to greet him. Shot in the face. They got to back off. They're looking for a different way through here, but they might get cut off. Roki playing a dangerous game. Note trying to go for the assassination attempt on him. Instead, it will be his team with Note out and about trying to find a kill of his own. The rest of his team get run over. 2 kills already here for the Defiant. And now they get to set up shop on this point.
Oh, and they demech the Diva as well late into this fight, and they're not going to let her die like she so much wants to right now. Note being staggered, booped and bopped around. Just let it end. Finally, the merciful Lucio Blast will put her back to spawn.
Yeah, he'll res up just in time here to take part of the defense on Note's side, and they are not wasting any time at all here. Defiant trying to charge right through the front. Riley's going to get used here by Stellar, beefing his team up with that additional armor. And Ivy now looking for a clever angle here. If he can find it, this would be good. Spots out Note, knows the D-Matrix is used. Could try and get it in, but instead it is going to be point blank, fadeaway shot. That's going to set it up. Stellar finding Blase already. Counter grab coming through now for the Boston side of things. Sound barrier has worn off, and this time it is going to be Ivy once again coming out on top of the duel. Color Hex and Fusion's dead. This is looking fantastic now for the Defiant.
It's a great use of abilities that weren't the Reinhardt shield there to save them from that self-destruct. They had the Brigida shield up over there, and the Zarya used a bubble to protect her team as well. So no matter where that self-destruct was going to come down, they were protected on all sides. Now it's just about the cleanup.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job of delaying things, burning time on the clock. Another Mei thrown in. Mei is gone, can't quite make it around the corner, but now Fusion's on the Hammond. He's just going to be instantly stunned and deleted. Whoa, the grab solo, just wanting to get rid of Blase as fast as possible. But they're so good at contesting. 1 tick only picked up. Now we're going to get the second. Might get a third here as well. Aim God immediately going to get picked off, and that is going to be it. The Defiant going to tie it up 2-2.
It's about as close as it gets. Time banks look nearly identical, I believe. 5:17 on one side, 5:25 on the other. As close as it gets. We're gonna reset and do another half when we return from the break.
Welcome back from the break. We forgot a 0 there, so it was only 30 seconds. But we're going to be getting into the action now. Defiant, they will be starting off on the defense as the Boston Uprising. They had less time in the bank, so they're back on offense. Pressure's on them now. See if they can crack through here. And they are, I mean, perhaps at the start we could have some changes. Definitely not expecting to see that guy stay.
No, that'd be more of a defensive strategy. It's a map where you can see interesting defensive strategies. Not right now, of course, but you can run a Junkrat and a Widowmaker and a lot of things. But Toronto seems very comfortable in this 3-3 composition. No reason to switch it up as it was so close in our first round of play here. Teams tied up 2 points, 2 points. 5 and some change left in both banks, so let's just reset it. Let's go again.
Oh, yep, let's go again. And Nako kicks it off with a headshot on aim god. Get out! Blase gets overwhelmed, and Boston sent packing. And will we see any real changes coming through here? All the way back in spawn, not looking like it.
I'm looking at the player cameras, and Nako's just been grinning every time he gets a shot on the aim god.
He's loving it right now. We got to keep an eye on him to see if he drops any more of the Boston Uprising logos anywhere. I mean, right now, Boston finding it difficult. For now, there's the boost. Speed boost straight onto the point. Kelix leading the charge along with Fusions. Fusion's going to get stunned, though. Under pressure. Has to be careful not to get cut off and not to take too much damage.
Very low.
He's turning all over the place. Nako just, you can hear the dinks, the headshots going off, and there you go, another one coming through. It's Ivy to pick up the kill on aim god.
Well, you don't want this Zarya to live. That's why they're going to chase it down so hard. There it is. And the finish with style. Toronto's defense looking much better this time around, and a late kill onto Note. The stagger comes in strong.
Come on, Nako. Do it. Do it. Well, there was a Boston, though. There was a Boston spray there, so I'm assuming, I'm just going to assume it's him.
Now they've got a...
There it is.
They're in very good position with their ultimates. Ivy just now gets Graviton up. Color Hex 34%.
Yeah, 34% isn't too hot here. Ivy now going to be getting that energy rolling as well. Straight up to 80. Now it's grab time. Sure enough, from on high, changing up the angles. So much burst about to come down, and Color Hex is the one to go boom. Man advantage now, and that's a big one with the Zarya out of the fight. No grab to have to worry about here on the Defiant side. Ivy just gets to run amok.
This one's it. They're going to be getting everybody on the cleanup here. Of note, though, is that Envy did go down during that fight, or at least he was D-Mexed. Diva's got two forms. Mech form, when the mech blows up, you get Pilot Diva, but she can get her mech back by doing enough damage to call down a fresh mech. I don't know where these mechs are coming from. The technology, quite frankly, frightens me.
It does, you know. You would think they'd figured it out by now, and he's nearly going to get it there as well. So, should have a fresh mech here for Envy. There is a slight opening here, but he does manage to get the remech. Ivy nearly gets run over immediately. He's got to be careful. Needs some support here from Stellar to see if that burst healing is going to come through. It's not. Fusions finds the kill, but then the follow-up from Note. Nako and Yakpum getting blown up is not going to help things here for the Defiant, but they have done a great job burning valuable time off the clock. We're down to 2.5 here for Boston.
And you have to wonder if the late mech call down really hurt Envy's positioning there, because he just got his mech called down. Boston recognized this small window, got themselves in the correct position they needed to, and with the mech being called down so late and being out of position, he was not in a good spot to deny, or at least
help his team.
Yeah, or at least make Color Hex think about it. So the Graviton in a great position, Boston cleans it up.
Excellent work, and they're going to go try and just play off of this. Fusions has got the Shatter online. Rally going to get used on the side of Stellar, on the side of the Defiant. And the stun on Yakpum denied! No Shatter coming through for you! Trance on both sides from both of these teams. Fusions has got a Shatter, and he's not going to use it. This is just trading back and forth now as the Defiant, this still favors them, especially if you get two monster kills like that.
That's going to be the cleanup that they needed there. Envy has been hitting self-destructs like a madman this entire series. That lovely horn, if you're a fan of the Toronto, that is, means a team kill. Everybody eliminated on that side. And on defense, you really only need 1 or 2 kills because we call it the defender's advantage. Your respawn is right there, so if you get 1 or 2, the long walk for the offense compared to the short walk for the defense means you're almost always going to be up in the fight.
Exactly right, barring horrendous mistakes. Well, Boston trying to find another way in. Boosted across to the high ground here and straight through the front door, looks like. Or at least they were looking at the front door, and then they thought, actually, no, we're going to go around the side. And then they decided, hey, we're actually going to take a ride into the wall. Kelix is out of it. Color Hex now, from his perspective, I mean, he's got the grab, but there's no reason to use it at this point. 1:20 on the clock, and another fight lost here for the Boston Uprising. Or should I say another fight that they didn't win? Heck, that's,
yeah, be positive, right? Can we call the team the not winners instead of the losers?
Hey, there you go. This is a perfect example of a stagger. More time wasted here for Boston Uprising as they have to wait for Note to respawn.
Right, and that was a tough fight for Boston to lose because now Toronto Defiant are getting their very important ultimates up. In fact, by the time the next fight happens, they should have all of them, all 6 ultimates. You can say the same for Boston pretty much too. Everybody getting very close. It's going to be all about ultimate execution here.
Wow, just taking the fight all the way out in the open. This
That's
might come
tough.
back to haunt them.
That's tough.
This is getting ahead of yourselves here, Defiant. A bit too confident. You got all the ults. You can't use them if they're dead. Oh, this is bad. Ivy now goes down as well. Huge stagger. This, never mind. There's the pause. Okay, then. Well, when this happens, like anything, sometimes, you know,
Technical issues,
there you go.
know?
A little technical
A ghost in the machine, as it were. A bug in the program.
So-
It could be as simple as someone's mouse just stopped working. something like
Exactly.
that.
Could also be.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can't really do that in these official games. The players can't control the servers in that way, but you could do that, you know, just to BMC people in the end. You're like, oh, we're gonna
Yeah.
win, so let's pause.
But, you know,
make this
just
safer.
think of it as an injury timeout.
Yeah, there you go.
But, like, hardware is injury. Yeah.
Exactly. But this isn't football, so not no soccer. Sorry, we're in the U.S. right now.
Well, there are injury timeouts in football.
I guess too. I don't watch football. All right, but I mean, as far as this match is concerned, Boston clearly getting the great punish there on the Defiant. Defiant, you can see what they were trying to do. Like, oh, we take the fight out here early.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to fight every step of the way back. But then they just started losing players.
Yeah, if you win that fight out there, it's actually really good for you. However, it is more exposed, and maybe they're not as practiced as fighting out there as they should be. It's going to be interesting if they can get back, because they lost a bunch of support heroes, but now the support heroes have ultimates here, but it looks like... Oh, they just barely touched, barely.
Get out of here. They still have the ults as well. This could turn it around. Big Shatter gets thrown in, and there's the follow-up. Self-destruct. No, coming in for real hero yet again. Going to get the staggers through. The grab, no follow-up possible, no kills possible. It's on Roki now to just buy time until his team can get in here, but it's not going to be enough. And Boston at the very end, almost a gift from the Defiant. Got a bit cocky on the Defiant side.
7 seconds remain in their time bank. Or 5.5, rather, actually.
No time at all.
5:25 on the other side of things as the Toronto Defiant going to try to tie up this score. 4 points on the board on Temple of Anubis for the Boston Uprising. A mere 2 at the moment for the Toronto Defiant as they will retake the offensive position.
Just taking a look at the numbers right now. Keeping tabs on Ivy and Color Hex is a main focus. And while Ivy's still outperforming Color Hex by a large margin. So when you got your Zaryas in a head-to-head, Ivy's doing an excellent job. Mako as well.
Yeah, the gap has shrunk a little bit. So Color Hex is playing a little bit better on this map. Maybe the halftime break calmed his nerves, perhaps. But it was very one-sided early in our matchup.
I mean, it's good that you look out for your namesake, Hex. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's just, you know, I'm glad that you've taken his.
I was actually speaking to him, I believe, in one of the Twitch stream chats. And I was like, now that there's 2 hexes, like, what are we gonna do? He's like, no, just call me C Hex. And I was like, checks? What are you talking about? So we'll figure it out as we go along.
It's just a flesh wound.
Us hexes got to stick together, man.
There you go, Blase. Making sure that he's limber and ready for the fight. He's on the defense, along with the Boston Uprising. It's the Toronto Defiant now. They changed sides. Now they will be on the offense. And now we get into the thick of things here. The Defiant, plenty of time on the clock for them to work with. And it's just about not overstepping here. You don't want to get anybody picked off at the beginning. Just see if you can find a loophole or something to work with here on the Boston side. Nope. Stepping out quite a bit. Yakpunk dropping dangerously low, but with his team there around him, he will survive.
Rotation comes up to try to take the high ground now. Envy up top. You want to get your Zarya on high ground too if you can, so you can just rain from above. Not a whole lot of things shoot at her. Meanwhile, the other side, Color Hex will take the high ground on his lonesome. Boston has really creative rotations, so we'll see if they want to just try to bully their way up top or what the plan is here. I guess the plan is just put pressure on the point.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit careful here. Exactly. Envy going to be able to make it back. He needs to support his team, but in the meantime, they just get split up, and that's not exactly how this is supposed to work at all. It's almost there was miscommunication there or mistiming. Defiant, all 3 of their tanks go down on the point. All 3 of the backliners stuck up in the room.
Yeah, it was really strange there because for a moment, Fusions was isolated, and I thought they were going to try to jump on him, and then everyone just left and went to their own different things. So
yeah, that was a bit bizarre. Not the coordination we're used to seeing on the Defiant side, at least so far this series. And Fusion's point blank, waiting for the Rhine to go through. No shield follow-up, however. Neko forced to use the trance. This could be big. Envy under fire, but he will survive for now. And it's Aimgot with a delayed trance of his own. Just throws it in there.
Forcing the trance means that Graviton should get a lot of value here, so watch Color Hex and Ivy during the next few fights, few moments here. See if they can really find it. That shield gets burned down. Yakpunk deleted with a fire strike, goes through the shields. It's time to reset for the Toronto Defiant.
Yeah, time to get out of here. think, and Ivy not able to make it out either, so that energy not going to be up for him. Whereas Color Hex, you can see, is the number in the middle of your screen. The higher that number is, the more damage he deals. So it's all about staying alive and maintaining that number at a high level. Ults online for both teams, and well, we're starting to see the Defiant struggle just a little bit here to find a way through. Boston showing that they've still got some fight in them.
Yeah, you also have to be careful of Kellex, who's hanging out on the high ground. He wants to drop down and displace someone. There, he goes for it, and now they're going to try to back up the team with him.
Yep, he gets the bubble. He will survive that. There's the follow-up shatter, though. Fusions looking to try and set it up, but not going to quite happen. However, nope, we're just going to self-destructs all over the place. Fusion's there to block it. He's got no shield left, however. And the grab, no follow-up on the side of Boston Uprising. Defiant, this is just all of the ultimates getting thrown in. Stellar with the ult going off is able to survive. And on the side of Boston Uprising, they're hanging in there just fine as well. They're sticking together as a group. Hex, it's making all the difference, and it leads to the kills in the end.
The aggro charge up the stairs, and now it's just Ivy all alone. It's going to take AimGod with him, though. That's actually pretty decent. If they're really fast, they might have a small window of a 6v5, but we got to point out that Note was able to eat the ultimate early there. He was able to eat Graviton from the other side of things.
You saw how quick Kellex just goes right back over the spawn as well. He can ferry AimGod back that much quicker.
They're going to try, but I wonder if Toronto can just boost in quicker, because right now it is a 6v4 just momentarily. They do get back in position.
Ooh, a little bit scary.
Just for a second, yeah. The Lucio goes back because he's got that speed ability to bring everybody back into the fray. They're going to open it up with a self-destruct, and they find Neko.
Unreal. What a kill to kick things off. Neko out of it. Yakung as well, and that ends it here for the Defiant. Minute 40 on the clock here for the Defiant. So, I mean, they have to get 4 points, Hex. Or 2 points, rather. They have to tie it up at 4.
Let's set the bar a little lower right now. They got to get this first point before they even have a chance at the second point. And this is Boston team looks completely different now. How they're using ultimates, getting value out of it. And I think this map suits them very well. It's very much about strategy, having a defined game plan, knowing what your rotations are. If A, then B, then C. This team's running through the mega pack room. Let's just launch a self-destruct in there. It just seems like it suits their style of play.
Oh, and a big kill to kick things off. No sound barrier here for the Defiant. This pretty much ends it. Die as fast as you can if you're on the Defiant side. Ivy helps him out with that. And the Defiant get reset. We're down to 50 seconds on the clock for the Defiant. The last good team fight. That's all they're going to have to work with. All the ults coming online, though.
Envy's going to have to switch heroes and go back to D.Va too, because he did get demac'd, and they're not going to allow him the courtesy of a swift death. So now it resets his ultimate charge too. I'm not sure what it was at, but it was definitely higher than 0.
Yeah, that's no good. And well, on the other side of things, no self-destruct on his side, but they are going to try and make their way through this choke point again. You can see Kellex is dancing along the top. If he can get in on this back line, and he's looking for it, there's the boom. He gets solo grabs. We're not messing around here, Kellex. And that might be the kill to kick things off here for the Defiant. Shatter throwing in. Color Hex's grab gets eaten by Envy. That's the big play.
Oh, the shatter comes in huge, though. Everyone on the ground. Where is the cleanup? A huge Zarya beam from Ivy trying to find low health heroes. Everyone's low. No one's dying, though. I think Toronto might have swung this.
Yeah, they don't even get on the point the entire time. They're winning the fight, and they don't get a body on the point. Boston Uprising snaked the win in the end, 4-2.
It's an objective-based game. You got to keep your eye on the prize, keep someone on the points that contested. Boston failed to do so.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
Toronto failed to do so.
On the Defiant's side, we're going to be taking a break, and when we come back, we'll see. Are we going to a 5th map, or will Defiant recover on the 4th?
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
back from the break, ladies and gentlemen. It is 2-1. Defiant in the lead, but Boston showing that they remember how to play this game, Hex.
Yeah, catching a little bit of a break there. Toronto stepping a little bit out of their comfort zone on their defense and then unable to play the objective on Anubis. Maybe getting a little ahead of themselves, thinking, oh, we got this. If that defense goes perfectly, then they're in a good position. But Boston sets the stage for a reverse sweep here. They're still alive in this one, trailing 1-2 in maps. And our next map is the lovely escort map of Rialto.
Yeah, Rialto. We're going to take a look at what actually happened here at the end of Anubis. On high, the vision here. Roki on the point, touches it at the end, and he wasn't able to make it back in time. He had it. This is what we were talking about in terms of how you have to keep that body on the point. You have to have one of your team on there, and he just misread the situations by a split second. Lost his team the map.
It was as close can be. Not as egregious, perhaps, as last night's Shanghai Dorado situation. However, it still does cost him the map. I think Boston probably had that one anyway. They looked much stronger, but you hate to lose that one.
That leaves a bad taste. But Defiant, they got the mouthwash. They're going to be able to figure this out now because this is where you just shake it off during the break, reset, and get the job done here. Defiant still very capable of ending this in 4. So a bit of progress already, hanging out around the corner here. This is the name of the game for the Boston Uprising. This choke point, very common to see teams kind of clash into each other here.
Rialto's all about the corners, a lot of 90-degree angles. You go this way, that way, this way, that way. So a lot of corner holds. We're right now Defiant in a pretty decent position on the high ground. Looks like they're just going to abandon it now as the tanks jump down onto the payload.
Yeah, Fusion's doing a good job of working his way up to that shatter. Currently in the lead by a fair margin. And Ivy, right now, just hunting for a way to get energy going so that he can start melting faces. Still a bit of focus on him, but there it is. Starting to go. Yeah, it looks like they had an idea here. They're trying to collapse, sandwich the defense. That might end up costing them, though, and it certainly does. Yakpong and Neko down.
Well, it was a cute idea, but unfortunately in the Overwatch League, those cute ideas don't work out too often. What he's trying to do is come down. He's going to give himself a personal barrier to try to get his energy up, and then he's going to go to his main tank, give his main tank the barrier, hide behind him. However, Boston reads it like a book, collapses, finds the targets, cleans up the fight.
This is the thing that's about keeping the core together here. It's tough to come up with the clever plays like that and make it work. And Kellick's still flying high right now. Gotta be careful.
Ivy does have Graviton up, and he's got it up faster than Color Hex by a significant margin.
That's exactly. Rialto is one of the trickier ones to get things done, but the shatter comes through finally here. Ivy hanging out on the edge, but it's Fusions with the follow-up. He gets the perfect shatter, lays him out flat, and 2 kills off the back of that means that the Defiant are sent back to spawn.
And now the Boston Uprising are going to be able to get their other ultimates online. Only had to use Fusion's Earth Shatter to win that fight, so they're in a small advantage right now. Yakpung still trying to get his way to a Shatter.
He hasn't had the most fun here, Yakpung. He seems to either just die or have to hold the shield up and cross his fingers and hope. Right now it's going to be the trans through, so he finally gets to swing that sledgehammer around. Grab gets through, however. Ivy looking for it. Exactly, counter grab of his own. 2 big kills need to come through here or it's not going to be worth it, and they do manage to even things up. But Boston somehow surviving. Fusions, that's unreal. No HP on him, but he's still in the fight.
That's a 3v3 on the card. Fusions breaks, and that will force the Transcendence out to keep his team alive. They want to win this off fight before the reinforcements come in for the Toronto Defiant, but Ivy finds Kellex, who was riding on the wall, riding on the edge, and he goes down.
Yeah, sometimes you're on the edge. You're just going to fall over on the other side without even realizing it. This is it now. The Boston Uprising looking so good there. They did manage to bleed quite a bit of time off the clock. That was a solid defense.
I mean, I'm getting tired of saying his name, but you can't talk about this game without talking about Ivy. He's almost got another Graviton surge up.
Yeah, for this next fight. Sound barrier's already used as well. Could just decide to throw it in here. Yep, hiding it on the cart like that. Very few ways now for the Boston Uprising to mitigate this incoming damage. It's all about the shields, and they just don't have them.
They try to throw down the Shatter. Fusions is trying to save his team with it, but it is a torrent of red in our kill feed. The team kill, horn comes out, horn, bell, whatever it is. I wish it was an air horn, it's not. And Ivy continues to just chase people down with 90+ energy.
Why not? Trying to get those staggers. That would be big. It would slow Color Hex down as well. Color Hex going to have his grab. But this is it. Because Ivy is so aggressive, because he's hitting all these shots, He's nearly got a grab of his own online. That's unreal. He just used one and he's already up to 60%.
It's a little bit ridiculous. He's getting one every minute and 10 seconds. 2 kills are the most important 2 kills as well. They take out both supports. Fusions will fall shortly after. Rolls through, a little dip into the canal.
Going for a swim. Yeah, well, Envy, this is going to be looking very good here for the Defiant. Halfway to the second point. 2 minutes on the clock, ults online. They've nearly got the grab combo, Wombo again, and Color Hex, you know, that's the thing. This is what we kind of saw from Boston Uprising on the first 2 maps of this series. They're not quite lining up with the grab and the self-destruct, so it's going to be difficult for them to execute.
Yeah, it feels bad, but Boston might just have to eat this one and accept it because you don't have a lot to use. A Graviton comes in, they're going to transcend, they're going to try to keep alive.
Oh, looked for it, but a great play there. You got to give it to him. Fusions manages to angle his shield correctly and deny the shatter. Still 1 kill on the Kelix, but they lose Yakpung on Defiant's side. And in the meantime, they're still making progress. Fusion's having to give ground, but Color Hex finding Ivy. This could be big.
It is absolutely huge. Stellar's going to fall down too. Defiant put themselves in an odd position, fighting inside a very small room. Did not work out for them, and Boston, against all odds, able to win that fight. Toronto with a major lead, and Ultimates going into that fight. Better execution from Boston, and Fusions is keeping this team alive because he's getting Shatter up so quick, and he's shattering nearly every fight. He's a very aggressive Reinhardt with the shatters. Sometimes they'll throw him at a shield because the other Reinhardt just doesn't think it's going to happen, and it somehow works. It's ridiculous what this man's able to do with his ultimate ability.
Oh, we just saw it there. He's reading Yakpung like a book right now. Yakpung trying to go big with the shatter. Fusions wasn't having any of it. Kept his eyes on him and just got that shield in the way. So now it's they have to do it the hard way here on Defiant's side. Note has got his ult online for the Uprising, and he's just going to chuck it right over the edge. This is going to make Defiant scatter. And they do find the angles to survive. But now they have to deal with Boston Uprising occupying the high ground like this. It's so difficult for them to press forward when they have to worry about Hex just raining in damage from above.
Yeah, the staircase is such an important battle on this point. Zarya just able to drop the splash damage alternate fires onto the squad. So Toronto going to try a rotation.
Up to 100 energy as well. Now he's just going to be hitting like a freight train. Point blank. Grab gets thrown in. Sound barrier is there to defend it. However, the self-destruct is huge. You're looking for it, but there's no shield. Quad kill, self-destruct, perfect.
It's about as perfect as you can write it up. Up into the sky, Graviton, self-destruct, Earth Shatter, everyone dead. And what's even worse for Boston, they used everything that they had going on in that fight except for Rally. Of course, it did cost Toronto a great deal of their resources, but on the offense, you're pushing through. Roki might have a sound barrier up soon, so we're going to enter the poke war as we near only a minute on the clock.
This is the big deal. Aim God, gotta be careful. Get him dropping. He's dropping low. Nego's wanting to say hello to him, but Defiant, the big thing is you get that second point, and you get a little bit of progress here towards the third. And so now you have time to work with. Minute on the clock. You should be able to, I mean, Ivy, given Ivy's rate at which he gets grabs, he could very well get another one here before it's over. And well, he can pick up a kill too. Blaze's out of it. Nope, getting T-Mech isn't going to help things here for the Boston Uprising. This fight, they're not going to survive it.
Fusion's down as well. Defiant continue to push. This is a very difficult map to complete. And the Defiant win that matchup without having to use anything. So they're going into it. They did use Sound Barrier. Lucio out of the fight for now. So you're going to see Toronto wait just a second. He's trying to bring the Reinhardt back into the mix, so they're at full fighting force. They do come back into it. 20 seconds left, last fight.
Yeah, this is it, right on the doorstep of the third point. Grab gets thrown in by Ivy to kick off the party. Fusion's looking for the shatter, and it's gonna be traded right back. E-blocks Yakpung, hits his own, but the trance is there for Nego to keep his team up. Note, however, will find enough damage on Stellar to remove him. And now the man advantage, this certainly has to be it here for the Boston Uprising. Defiant trying to get just a little bit more out of the payload. But now they need to stay alive. They need to touch the point. They will manage just that. Envy, however, he's going to get focused down, and this is going to be it. Boston will deny the Defiant at third point. But this was still a solid push coming in from the Defiant.
For Rialto, that's a very good push. It's a defensive favored map. In a lot of situations, it just gets harder and harder for the offense to push through, especially that very last choke point. So nothing to be ashamed of on that offense for Toronto. But it does mean we're not going to a second half of Rialto. Either Boston gets it further than that, or they don't. Could be going to a map 5, though.
Yeah, a lot of calling coming in here from Fusions as well. One of the new players to the stage here in the Overwatch League, and he has just made such a huge impact for the Boston Uprising. Their Rhine player, their main tank, he's right in the thick of the action, and if he's vocal, that's where you can see Boston start to come together as a unit. and build off of his plays. Color Hex as well.
Yeah, a new addition as well, representing the Pacific region. I believe our only player in the Overwatch League from New Zealand.
He's having a bit of a struggle in terms of numbers, still trailing behind his counterpart Ivy on the other side. But still, Boston, they looked solid. They can get the job done here. If they can pick up 3, we're going to a map 5. We'll be going the distance.
Yeah, map 5 goes back to control, so I'm always all for it. Seems you and I end up with a lot of map 5s,
We
but
do.
I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with, yeah, exactly. I'm fine with control as well at the end. Makes for some exciting games. And well, this is exciting because both of these teams are battling for that stage 1 playoff spot. Such an important match because they're even in terms of standings, neck and neck, but they're still both in the running. A loss here would really set you back, would really set you on a hard path to the playoffs. And so now it's on the Boston Uprising to get the job done here on the offense. Toronto Defiant looking great.
It's been a tale of tank play from both sides. I think Ivy's outclassing Color Hex just a little bit, but I think Fusions is getting the better of Yakpung. So it's been an interesting dynamic to watch what is widely referred to as the Zarya-Ryan combo, which they work so well together, how each team is utilizing their different pieces.
Exactly. See the bubble there that goes up on Color Hex? That's where he's getting that energy from. That's what ramps up his damage. And he's able to put one on his teammates as well. That absorbs damage, it cancels out damage, it cancels out effects. It's a safe little bubble Hex.
Yeah. I mean, I think bubble is the proper colloquialism. I think we found it early on in Overwatch language.
Yeah, there you go. And well, hate to burst your bubble, but Ivy's gonna come charging through. Already with the kill, he sets it up for a follow-up on Fusions as well. Boston not going down without a fight though. Stellar and Yakpung getting overwhelmed, but with Ivy still alive, there's just too much damage.
I mean, the question now is, are they gonna send their Lucio back? They get Note late, so they have 2 very slow heroes who just died in that fight. So they're going to send the Lucio back here. Here's Roki.
Very slow,
that is the taxi, or for our younger audience, a Lyft or an Uber, something along those lines. Taxi is just a yellow version of those things.
There you go, exactly. You see him around still. I think New York, you still see him around. But Defiant. It's on Ivy now. He's got the grab. Envy's nearly got the self-destruct. Could have just waited and tried to buy it out. Actually, no, never mind. Straight into it, and 2 kills immediately cut off from their healers, cut off from their support line. The tanks just get blown up. Turns out you don't need the Wombo combo Hex.
No, this has been all Toronto here, and able to win a fight with only a Graviton Surge is always feels good. They're able to save everything else, but now we're entering the ultimate phase of the game for the Boston Uprising. Color's still a while away from that ultimate, though. Maybe that's why Ivy is so comfortable just tossing these grabs in.
Exactly. I mean, in terms of how quickly they're getting it, Ivy right now on average on this map gets it 30 seconds faster than Color Hex. That's a big difference. Color Hex, he's got to step that game up. He's got to pump those numbers up, Hex. Blase gonna go for the rally. We will have a shatter thrown in by Yakpung. Point blank, no follow-up possible though because of the self-destruct flying through the air. And there it is, the shatter of his own thrown in by Fusions. Aim God deciding now is the time to try and keep his teammates up. But as it wears off, they're going to get brought into a grab, and that is certainly going to be a whole bunch of dead Boston Uprising.
It's another grab from Ivy. Ivy is playing a single-player game right now. He's just sitting on the ledge, using the beam to just do so much damage. No one even looked at him. No one even looked at him that entire fight. Welcome to the Foot Clan. Right to the face.
Oh, man. Oh, this is...
Our buddy Eric Doa believes that they need a special icon because the melee icon's a fist. He's like,
yes.
it's inaccurate.
Just give it a boot. Come on.
All right, Color Hex finally with a Graviton up. The only thing to really respond to the grab would be Stellar's rally in this if they want to stay alive. Neko getting very close to his own transcendence.
Exactly. Color Hex finally going to throw that grab in. They do manage to catch a bunch of squishies. And that is going to be a big kill onto Roki, but he can get back into this fight quick as soon as he respawns. Neko feels like it's time to use the trance to keep his teammates up. Stellar, though, going to get obliterated. Fusion's there. The focus fire just too good. And the grabs are all over the place. They're trading back and forth now, both of these teams. But it's looking like the Defiant will finally crumble here on the defense. Still, only 30 seconds on the clock for Boston.
I just can't believe Ivy had another grab going there. And then after he throws at the grab, he leaves the fight into spawn at 25% in his grab. Of course, now his energy is reset. Going to be much more difficult for him to build that in the future. We should have another fight before this checkpoint is taken.
Absolutely. Note's got the self-destruct. Curious to see if he decides to throw it in here, if he's going to hold on to it for a fresh mech. Still waiting. I mean, Color Hex could definitely get the grab online in this fight as both teams face off. Shields are up and they are waiting. Envy trying to find a flank, trying to find a target, and he is just going to decide to wrap back onto the point. He's all about just trying to contest at this point. Trance is thrown in, and it's just out and out chaos. And through all of that, Note emerges with 2 kills on the self-destruct, and they will succeed. Boston Uprising playing off of each other. Color Hex rallying them up, bringing them up together, and Note blowing them up.
Yeah, the group hug interrupted by a giant mech self-destructing. So a little discordant atmosphere there. However, that was a very solid first checkpoint defense from the Toronto Defiant. Only 2 minutes left to get to the second checkpoint and add on some additional time. But it is a long ways away. It's on the other side of the building and even further than that. So I would expect Toronto to try to put some pressure on in places where maybe not a lot of teams will try to hold, like right here.
Yeah, like right here, straight off the top, onto the point. Sound barrier thrown in here now for the Defiant with a grab, of course, from Ivy. Of course, just no shock there. He's always got it online for all of these fights, and Blase will be the first one to go down. Yakpunk follows, though, so this is getting a bit dicey, but the Defiant, it seems like with Ivy alive and Envy, they're able to work together. And Boston Uprising will get forced back to spawn.
Yeah, smart rotation from Ivy going through the room to catch them on the retreat. Note will be going down late. Now at 90% on that charge. So important. We're below 90 seconds as well.
No, there is not a whole lot of time to work with here, Boston. Color Hex, he's got the grab online, though. Note still working on the self-destruct. Rally going to be used by Blase to carry his team into it. Beef them up with that additional armor. Color Hex, he's high on energy, he's doing damage, he's gonna be melting that shield, and so we see Yakpung have to give ground and back off. But at this point now, Defiant, they've accomplished that first fight, what they were trying to get in. Now they're into the standard place to hold here on the high ground. It's on Boston Uprising to try and root them off of it.
Ivy should be able to get to grab during this fight, considering he's got the high ground on the stairs, able to rein it in. Long distance grab from Color Hex. They're going to try to set up the combo.
Floats it in. Stun goes down. Sound barrier is up, though. No, it's Neko with the trance keeping his team into this. And now it's going to be the counter. Ivy throws the grab of his own. Fusion's going to go down. And with 30 seconds on the clock, Boston Uprising, they're battling for their lives here in this series.
This one's getting pretty close. Yakpung goes down, but as does Blase, taken out by his opposing number. Envy just trying to get some damage here, but it has seemed that Boston is retreating. They've only got 4 alive, but their supports were so low that they couldn't stick around. Should be able to set up one more contest, but it's not going to be ideal. D.Va's so far behind this fight.
Kelix is trying to find a way in. He's already been spotted out, though. He's already at half HP. Surely he's going to die. Yep, Envy immediately jumps on him. Sound barrier used here by Defiant to kick off the fight as well. They know they have a man advantage. They know that Kelix isn't in it. Now they've lost Fusions on the Boston side. 4 of them alive. The Hail Mary grab getting thrown in by Color Hex. No, so close to the self-destruct that he's going to get it off, but right now, Defiant, they've got plenty of places to hide, and nobody's going to go boom. This is going to be the Toronto Defiant holding in the end, and they will win the series versus Boston Uprising.
A small misstep on Toronto Defiant, but they learned from their mistakes on Anubis. Comeback swinging here. And I think we see the budding of a new star in Ivy. Just amazing Zarya play throughout the day, supported by his tank partner in Envy, Yakpung. Everybody had a good game, but Neko's got to be feeling extra happy to beat his former team.
That's the feel-good moment. That's what everybody, I mean, when you get traded off of your old team, you know, that's what you're looking to do. Hey, I'm on my feet, I'm doing better, and this is why we just won.
More importantly for this expansion team, their record now rises to 3-2 with a legitimate chance to get to the stage playoffs. And as an expansion squad, you're not even existing in the 2018 season. To come in to make first stage playoffs is going to be huge.
Yeah, there you go. He knows what's up. We should be hearing from him momentarily as well, so glad to hear that. Neko, after such a star performance from him, alongside Ivy, alongside the rest of his team, they've done an excellent job here, and you're right to point it out. They are the ones who take the key victory going into the Stage 1 playoffs. It's Boston Uprising who are left wondering what they did wrong. Now we're going to go ahead and hear from the man himself, Neko, in an interview.
That is right. Thank you, casters. What is up, everybody? I am here with Neko from Toronto Defiant. Woo! Congratulations on the win. Now, during halftime, I actually got to talk to your teammate, Aid, and he told me that we will get to see a more motivated Neko today. And did you feel like you were extra motivated today because you were facing off against your former teammates, Boston Uprising? 자, 네코 선수, 오늘 제가 해프타임 때 에이드 선수와 살짝 말씀을 이제 나눴는데 그분께서 이런 말씀을 해주셨어요. 오늘 좀 각성한 네코 선수를 보실 수 있을 겁니다라고 말씀해 주셨는데 아무래도 예전 팀인 보스턴과의 경기라서 네코 선수 어떻게 좀 더 각성한 모습을 보였다고 생각을 하시나요?
네, 진짜 엄청나게 이기고 싶어가지고 각성했던 것 같아요.
I was super motivated because I really, really wanted to win. All right. Now, talking about Boston Uprising, I saw that in the second map in Hollywood, you actually used the Boston Uprising logo spray on the floor, and you were, poking a little fun at them. And after seeing that, I actually thought that you had a lot to say to Boston Uprising. So, anything you want to say? 자, 그 두 번째 맵 할리우드에서 제가 그 보스턴 그 스프레이를 쓰셨죠? 네, 그거에 대해서 아무래도 그걸 보니까 좀 하실 말씀이 많으실 것 같아서 이 자리를 빌려서 한 말씀 해주세요.
그냥 그거는 솔직히 예전에 보스턴 스프레이를 낀 게 안 바뀌어가지고 그냥 있는 김에 좀 한 거예요 그냥.
So actually, it was already in the settings, and I forgot to change the Boston logo to my new team. So sorry about that. That's what happened, and that's why I used it. Alrighty, well, thank you so much, everybody. Give it up for Neko one more time. Let's send it back to the casters. Samler and Hex, back to you guys.
I read in an advertisement, Hex, that Neko had a bridge to sell you as well.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. It was on accident, but I love it. I love his play, but it's beyond just Neko getting revenge on his former team. They started the day 11th in the standings. Just that one win catapults them all the way up to 6. So with a 7-match stage, it's really important to win every game. You see the big difference that happens there.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's how close it is right now. The level of parity, expansions teams, and the teams from season 2018. I mean, it's a big deal. And you see just how they are all neck and neck. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our player of the match. Brought to you by Omen by HP. And, well, big shock here, Hex? I think not.
Yeah, no, it's Neko. And the halftime team did a great job working up that he was getting the opposing Zenyatta very often as well. I think he had 4 final blows on the opposing Zenyatta after the half at this point. I think you could have given it to Ivy, but it's such an important win for Neko. They just got him back in the lineup the other day. He was unable to play the first couple matches, and it's been a big difference. This Toronto Defiant team should be scaring people who are pretty much locks to get into the stage playoffs, because I feel like on a good day they could beat almost anybody.
Yeah, they're a real threat now, and it's based a lot on this guy. It's based a lot on Ivy. The two of them, the 2 core damage dealers for this team, doing excellent work. I'm really glad to see that level of performance coming in from Neko. What a beast. I mean, final blows on Aim God. There you go. He's pretty much established it. That you in particular, I've got a bone to pick with.
My favorite one was when he was in a Graviton and he's searching for targets in a Graviton and finds Aim God with a headshot like across the map. It was beautiful.
Well, guys, more Overwatch coming at you. This is the first match over here for the day, but we still have 3 more matches coming up next. So be sure to stay tuned. It's going to be the Hangzhou Spark versus the Los Angeles Gladiators coming up next after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered.